Welcome to the Path of Mantra podcast, where I share insights on yoga, tantra, and Shakti sadhana. This podcast is dedicated to all sincere spiritual aspirants from East and West who embrace mantra as a core tool of personal and spiritual growth. You can learn more about this project on shaktatantra.com. My name is Giovanni, and I'm your host. I invoke the blessings of my Gurudev, Swami Nikhileshwarananda, and of the Great Goddess. The topic of today is the role of ritual in mantra practice. When most people begin in the path of mantra, they believe that all they have to do is to sit down and chant the mantra. In fact, there is a whole ritual around it. There are many steps to be followed before, during, and after. And while the essence of the practice is indeed to chant the mantra, especially with the 3 F's of mantra practice, focus, faith, and feeling, that we discussed in episode 3, and the 3 D's of mantra practice, dedication, discipline, and determination, that we discussed in episode 9. But if you read the books on mantra and tantra, the traditional books on mantra and tantra, you will see that there are a lot of ritual steps. Now the question is, why? What is ritual? And why is it important? A ritual is a sequence of steps, a sequence of meaningful steps designed to achieve a particular end. The purpose of the ritual is to create a change or to mark a change that has happened. For example, when someone gets married, there's a series of steps that happens before, during, and after. And if those steps happen correctly, then there is a state change. At the end of the process, you are a different person or in a different state than you were before that process. It's the same thing about rituals. The steps in the rituals are not arbitrary. They are deeply symbolic. They have a purpose. Let me give you a metaphor. Mantra sadhana is all about propitiating the deities. Now, think about a movie and a love scene. The actor could just go there and declare his love to his beloved, and that was it. You wouldn't feel much. It doesn't feel that important. The emotion is not really there. Likewise with mantra practice. When we are doing mantra practice and all the ritual that comes with it, it's as if we are performing for the gods. We are trying to convey our feelings, our wishes and intention to the deity. And so there are many elements that will influence the effectiveness of our performance. Think about a movie scene that is very moving, one that makes you cry, or that makes you laugh, or that takes you to a state of awe. How many steps are needed for that movie scene to arrive where it is, the final product that you consume? Every individual actor in that movie scene has had so much practice in their own lives and also for that particular scene. Think of how many times they've practiced those lines, those faces, those expressions. You can imagine that maybe they even had other things they had to do to just be in that state for that performance. Like the time they wake up that day, what they have for breakfast, what they wear, what are they thinking, all of that. And then there is everything around them, every element of the movie scene, every object, the colors, the lighting, the sounds, everything. The lighting has to be at a right angle, at the right intensity, of the right type. And for each of those elements, there are so many rules that need to be followed so that that element is in place correctly, that the expression is perfect, that the music is perfect. Then there's the whole science of editing the movie. There are 1,000 different steps behind a 30-second movie scene that arouses an emotion in us. Why would we expect it to be any different when we are performing for the gods? There are many steps that need to be taken care of so that our mantra, our feeling, reaches the deity in the most effective possible way. That's why we need to do the right mantra in the right way, facing the right cardinal direction, with the right color of clothing, with the right type of clothing, using the right type of offerings, in a particular time of the day, in a particular day of the month, after having taken certain steps to purify ourselves, having purified the environment, having purified our seat. All of these have an impact. Traditionally, in mantra practice, there are all of these steps and rules that create purity in yourself, in your practice, in your environment, in the objects used. And then the total energy of that is more pure. It's more effective. It can reach the deity. It can convey what you're trying to convey. If instead you're just saying the message itself, it's not as powerful. Now, this is the first thing that, or perhaps one of the first things, that turns people off from the path of mantra. Oh, so I need to learn all these steps and I need to learn these Sanskrit verses. And what's the point of all of this? I can tell you that I myself went through this phase. I just wanted to do the mantra. I believed in the mantra. I cared about the mantra. I wanted the results, but I didn't really understand ritual. It seemed to be all kind of lots of made up steps. And what's the point of this? That's how it felt for me. Whenever any practice I was doing required ritual, I would do the ritual step by step as indicated, but I wouldn't really connect with it or feel anything or understand what I was doing. I was basically tolerating that practice so that I could get to what matters, which is the mantra. Now I feel very different about it. After years of practice with an open mind and really reflecting about all the elements of this path, I understood that ritual is powerful. Ritual is important. It's not just a preparation. And when you get to that realization via your own experience, then everything will change. Then you will be able to perform the ritual correctly, and you will feel its value, and you will want to continue doing it, and you will want to learn more and more steps because it has become alive. What happens in the beginning is that we just don't know. We're just kind of following along. Like someone who is learning a song and is just kind of singing along without knowing what they're doing, just following steps. For example, one of the first steps we do in the beginning of our mantra practice is that we put a little bit of water in our right hand. We say a particular mantra of purification, and then we sprinkle that water all over our body. If we're just doing that mechanically, it doesn't seem very meaningful. We can do it in good faith, like, well, it's the guru is teaching this, the books are teaching this. I don't know, I'm open-minded, so I'm just going to do it. Great, that's a good start. But once you begin to understand what you're doing, once you begin to include your imagination and your feeling in what you're doing, then it comes alive. For example, in the same step, you can be imagining, as you are repeating that mantra and holding that little bit of water in your palm, you can be imagining that that water is being filled with divine light. And that the moment that that water touches your body, it will change the color of your aura. It will purify you. It will make you clean and divine, ready for the practice. And if you do with this intention and this imagination every day, after a while, you really begin to feel it. And then you enjoy the practice. You understand the purpose because now you are doing it wholeheartedly. You are connecting with it. Likewise, for example, when we are doing the offerings onto a yantra, that's a very universal aspect of mantra practice. That there is a yantra, in some cases instead of a yantra, which is the geometrical symbol of the deity, typically carved in a piece of copper or other metal. Sometimes instead of a yantra, there is a statue or there is an image of the deity, laminated. But traditionally speaking, it's mostly the yantra. And so what do we do? In mantra practice, we would wash that yantra with pure water. Then we would dry it. Then we would offer, in the most basic form, we would offer 5 things. We would offer some kumkum, which is a red powder of great significance in Tantra and Hinduism. Then we would offer some rice, symbolizing food and the element of water. Then we offer some fruits. Then incense. Then we show it a lamp, the element of fire, and a flower. We put a flower onto the yantra. Now the order may change depending on the practice. But the idea is that you are not just dropping a little bit of kumkum on the yantra. You're not just dropping some grains of rice on a piece of metal. If that is the practice, then it is meaningless. But if you do that ritual, trying to understand what you're doing, trying to connect with the underlying feeling, you will know that you are not dropping some pieces of rice on a piece of metal. You are offering the water element onto that deity. Everything in the universe is composed of the 5 elements. And in puja, in the offerings, we offer ingredients representing the 5 elements to that deity. Because we are trying to give life to that deity onto ourselves, onto our life, onto our body. The yantra represents the deity. When you're putting a flower on the yantra, you're offering your emotions to the deity. You're offering the element of space to the deity, symbolized by the flower. And so there's a world of difference between dropping a flower on a yantra versus offering something beautiful, offering your emotions to the deity you're trying to connect with. And when you can do every step of the ritual with this underlying connection, with this underlying sense of the purpose, the intention, the emotion, then everything comes alive. So the purpose of ritual is to purify, amplify, and empower the mantra. The mantra is always the core. It's always at the heart. Just like everything in a movie scene that is supposed to convey love, it's there to make us feel that feeling. And if you remove some of the elements, you may still feel it, but when everything is together, it's so much more powerful. That's the right way to think about ritual in the path of mantra. If there's a particular guru or tradition that you follow, then likely you have already come across certain rituals. You might have not liked them in the past or understood them or have been open to the idea of integrating rituals. And my hope is that with this podcast, you are now more open to the idea. Now, one final point is don't overwhelm yourself. Many of these rituals are long, complex, and involve several verses of Sanskrit that you may not know how to pronounce. I remember in my tradition, as I was reading the books and then later on reading the traditional books of mantra and tantra, that was just so much. And it's easy for the mind to feel overwhelmed and to just want to leave the whole thing aside, or just ignore everything and just do the mantra. If you have a teacher that can guide you step by step, that's better. Otherwise, go little by little. If in your tradition or in the book that you're following, there is a complex ritual with 30 different steps, just go and learn the first step. Learn the first step, include it in your daily sadhana for a week or more. When you feel comfortable, then include the second step. When you have memorized those verses, when you're comfortable with that part of the ritual, then add the third step. And like this, little by little. One step at a time. If you are doing this mostly on your own, and you don't know what to include and what to not include, look at the different steps in the rituals as being part of 4 main categories. The first one is purification. We need to purify our body, the environment, the seat. There are many different things that would be helpful to purify, but at the very least, our body and especially our mouth. And then there is the verses of achaman, as they call it. So you need to include some basic purification mantras or practices as a preliminary step in your daily sadhana. Then there are invocations. Invocations is to call upon certain beings, certain energies, certain cosmic forces to support you in the practice that you're doing. Typically, we always call upon Ganesh, the remover of all obstacles, so that all of the challenges and difficulties in the practice that we're about to do be removed. We invoke our guru or spiritual master to guide us, to give us the energy and the power to pursue that practice. And if you have a chosen deity known as Ishta Devata in Sanskrit, then you would invoke that deity. Now, how do we invoke these 3 different beings? It could be a simple prayer in your own language. That is the simplest and easiest way to do that. One step above in terms of complexity and effectiveness would be to read the 12 names. For example, the 12 names of Ganesh, or the 12 names of Ishta, or any particular short verses that may exist in your tradition to invoke the Guru. And then there are other much more elaborate means. So we talked about purification, we talked about invocations. Then there's something known as nyāsa, N-Y-A-S-A, the long A in the beginning, nyāsa. Nyāsa is sometimes translated in English as impositions or placements. In nyāsa, you will be touching different parts of your body while saying certain mantras. These will be mantras related to your guru or related to the deity that you are invoking. And the purpose of nyāsa, which is one of the most important elements after purification in the ritual of mantra, is that you are placing that energy onto your body. You are synchronizing your body and your hands with the energetic template of that being that you're trying to connect with. The nyāsa is going to be some short Sanskrit verses that you need to memorize, and then say them as you are touching your fingers or different parts of your body in a very particular way. If you are doing Shiva mantra, for example, you could go to YouTube and put Shiva Nyāsa tutorial or something of the sort and try to follow like that. If you have a teacher or a guru, of course, it is better to follow directly as per their guidance. And then finally, we have offerings. Offerings is, as I said before, you are giving the 5 elements to that deity that you're invoking so that it may be present with you, in front of you, in you. And there are other more complex offerings that may use 10 elements instead of 5 or 16 elements. Different deities like different things to be offered. It's a little bit like, I hate olives. And so if you want to call me to your house and give me food, don't offer me olives. Offer me something that I like a good juice or an acai bowl. So likewise, every deity likes different things. And that must also be learned from a guru or from an authentic book. There are other elements of ritual, but these are the core. And so if you can gradually begin integrating some form of purification before your practice, invocations of Ganesh, Guru, and your favorite deity, the nyāsa of the mantra you're practicing, and particular offerings, this is already a very solid start. Om Swami has a book called The Ancient Science of Mantras that teaches many of these elements step by step. It's all there, or a lot of it is there. But again, as you read that book, please don't get overwhelmed. Go little by little, step by step. So in this episode, you learned what is a ritual, why is a ritual important in the path of mantra. We used the movie scene metaphor to represent that a ritual gives much more weight to your practice and to your mantra. We talked about the importance of going through it step by step, integrating it slowly. We are here for the long run. And then we talked about some core elements of ritual that you can begin including in your practice, about purification, invocations, nyāsa, and offering. I hope that you have found this a useful introduction to the use of rituals in mantra sadhana. Jai Mataji.